Good day, Eddie. You talk a lot about new rock and go on and on about a few bands, Joyous Wolf, Dirty Honey, The Struts. You rarely to never mention Greta Van Fleet. Have you given them a good, true, honest to goodness listen? Do you not care for them? I think they are truly awesome and way better than the Struts. Sure, they sound like Zeppelin, but Zeppelin is great, and Zeppelin hasn't released anything new in decades. So that makes them even cooler, carrying the torch. Yours truly, Matthew. Matthew is in Palmersville, Tennessee. Matt, I can't fake it, and I can't lie. If I felt as strongly as a fan about Greta Van Fleet as I do some of the other bands you mentioned, I would be saying so. I have made my feelings about Greta Van Fleet clear many, many times. And by the way, I don't know how long you've been listening, Matt, but they've actually been on this show twice since they've existed. I do not dislike them. I applaud the success that they have had. I've also credited them continually for being the band that has knocked down the doors for us to even get some of these rock bands on people's radar and talking and getting signed. So I give them all credit, all respect, and all love for that. So there's nothing personal and there's no bias or anything like that. Now, if you're asking me how I personally feel about them as a music fan, I have yet to hear anything recorded that has blown me away. And I have listened to them. And yes, some of it is so unbelievably blatant Led Zeppelin, it's almost uncomfortable at times for me to listen to. I understand your point that Zeppelin hasn't made anything new in decades and won't, but that still doesn't mean you can blatantly, blatantly by the numbers, take from another band. Everybody does to some degree, but this is like next level. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. So what I've said consistently about that band is I'm rooting for them all the way. I give them all credit in the world for helping to break down some walls and get rock going again. I applaud and am happy for their success. They're very nice people. But I personally hope and want for me to be full on board for them to hear a new album of great, new, more original sounding songs. They don't have to do anything for me. They're doing quite well. But Matt and others are asking me for my true opinion, and that's what I'm giving you. That's just me speaking as a fan. I have not heard anything that has blown me away as far as recorded music. Now, the second record that they put out, I was really hoping that that would have been a big step for them, and that really wasn't to my ears. But they're still young, and I don't know, I could be wrong here, but they seem to be off the radar a little bit, which is probably a good thing. They're probably regrouping and what have you, maybe doing a record, I don't know. So I still hold out great hope and promise for them. And just for me personally, they seem to be well on their way. And again, they sure don't need me for the success they're having. But again, you're asking me personally, and I can tell you I am rooting for them all the way. But me personally, I've yet to hear anything that has blown me away. I'll say this finally on them. I also have yet to see them live. So I hear that's a big thing because now, honestly, on some of their later shows, people were telling me they went to see them live. The band played great, but the singer was straining a little bit, pushing it a little bit. I don't know. I've not yet seen them live. So that could be a part of the game changer. If you don't like, to compare a band like the Struts to Greta Van Fleet, it's not an equal comparison because they're very different bands. I love the Struts, but I don't make any reservations about the fact that they are very much a pop-leaning band. I'm aware of that. Greta Van Fleet is guitar, bass, drums, riff rock. The Struts are very produced, polished pop meets glam meets rock amalgamation of a lot of things. Huge choruses, 3-minute songs, completely different approach. But I like stuff like that. But I would never put them in the same box or even compare them because they're radically different bands. And you're totally entitled to your opinion on what you favor and what your preference is. But to my ears, song-wise, A Joyous Wolf, Dirty Honey, Rival Sons, the Zeppelin riff rock world, to me, that stuff is I just like it better. It's a little more, none of it's unique. None of it's necessarily breaking new ground. But to my ears, I like it better. And I think even though it's derivative of a lot of things, it's not as blatant as what Greta's doing. But I've always given Greta a pass on the Zeppelin thing because they're so young. And my thought was, well, they're going to get older and they're going to evolve and they're going to change and get a little more original. So far, to my ears, that hasn't happened, but there's still time because they're still very young. Try to get one more in here before we have to break.